11 o'clock, welcome in. It's time for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Here on the game, Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you on this Thursday. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the day off from the studio yesterday, but you guys were still hard at work out there for another day of camp, day number 7. So you guys continue to get a good look at what is hopefully a good future of the offensive and defensive lines here for South Carolina.
Shane Beamer camp, day 7. Chris, was it warm out there, man?
7 in the books. No, it was fine. You're trying to entrap me.
We had some decent clouds yesterday, so I feel like it wasn't probably unbearable.
I will say, I got to peel the curtain back and call Wes out. Wes did comment that it was hot yesterday.
Really?
But he prefaced it.
I had some self-awareness about it.
Okay.
Did I not?
Yes. You're like, look, I know that I make fun of this all the time, but
I would just say, yeah, it is pretty hot out here.
Yeah, were you like dripping sweat at this point in time where it's like, all right.
I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Hey, Williams-Brice was at about noon.
Yeah. When
the sun is just right above. Like it's tough. But man, there was talent there yesterday. I go to the 7-on-7 more specifically. O-line, D-line. We did get a good look at this kid, Leo Delaney from Charlotte. And, man, that guy looked amazing. 2026 offensive lineman that South Carolina's trying to make a run at, has an offer from them. And Chris, honestly, I'm trying to think. I don't think I'm going over the top here. Might be the best looking O-line we've seen this year.
Yeah.
At the O-line, D-line camp.
I could see that. He's big time prospect. He's rated in the top 100 of the entire country. And man, you look at just a general point. You look at the 2026, which is juniors, right? This current class is 2025 seniors. If you look at 2026, both, and we'll get to these guys, the state of South Carolina, but also the state of North Carolina, there's some big time prospects in the Carolinas for that class. Certainly some in this year too. But I think, the Carolinas are going to be critical to South Carolina's recruiting efforts. And, South Carolina's made some headway, I think, with more guys than they have in the last few cycles in the state of North Carolina. So, I mean, Delaney's one where the competition is going to be tremendous there, right? I mean, he's, of course, the in-state programs in the state of North Carolina are after him, but, Tennessee, Clemson, FSU, Georgia, you name it. All the programs in the Southeast and beyond are after him. And, I mean, he looks like, we talk a lot about, guys looking like you would draw him up kind of in a lab. And I think he's one of those guys. He's listed at 6'5", 275. That seems pretty dead on to me. Moves very well. He's technically sound. You can see why this guy's so highly recruited.
Great frame, man, too. Like a lot of these guys on the offensive line, I feel like have to, frankly, like reshape a little bit when they get to school. He looks like a guy. Obviously, you're going to want to gain some weight if you're at 275, but he's got 2 full years left in high school. This kid will probably be 6'5", 300 pounds when he steps on a college campus. And, they do a great job, I feel like, Providence Day as far as their physical development, like their strength conditioning. So he's not going to be a guy, I don't think, that would make like this massive leap when he gets into a college weight program because they're already pretty well taken care of, I believe, from what I've seen there. But, I think he'll easily get to 300 pounds. He's already a national level recruit, but certainly I think you'll see that trend continue with him as his recruitment plays out. We saw Gordon Sellers, not to be confused with Lenore Sellers.
Last name spelled different.
Do you say it the same way?
Well, it does have the Sellars.
Yes, but
so you're like
say it Sellers?
Sellars. I think I feel like I heard some people around camp saying Sellers that probably should know. So hopefully, did y'all see that David Sanders, the 5-star offensive tackle, #1 in the country,
Davis Sanders?
Yeah, went to Tennessee and they put his placard on the table. It said Davis.
Ooh,
you missed that, Tyler?
I did not. I feel like that should be a disqualifier right there.
Well, I'm not going to make should I make the joke?
I don't know what the joke is, but yeah, please.
As long as the name's spelled properly on the check.
That's fair.
But I could make that joke for now. But seriously, nowadays, like schools are going to be direct, including South Carolina, probably in the next few. Like schools are going to be directly compensating athletes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's not just a Tennessee joke. I mean, I didn't make a McDonald's bag joke.
Do you think
not faulting
some poor intern got just
well,
cussed out for that?
And it depends on what kind of sense of humor he has,
day.
right? As a player, like some guys might just laugh it off. Oh, that's funny. Hang on to it. Hey, look, they got my name wrong. And
he posted the picture.
Some people might be offended by it, though.
I don't even know if he noticed. I mean, he might. I'm surely he did. I mean, when people started tagging him on Twitter,
I'm trying to think because you know the kids these days. They got to have a caption for their Instagram.
Yeah,
photos.
sure.
And he basically he in his caption said they might have spelled my name wrong, but we all know it's a little rocky to get to the top.
Oh, okay.
So he took it in stride.
He didn't mind. David Sanders is a cool kid. Like that's not the type of thing where you've seen kids in the past. Oh, he spelled my name. Like he doesn't care. He's a good kid.
Are we gonna gloss over the fact that Wes said kids these days?
Well, I was saying it in jest.
Tyler's trying to penalize you.
You mean an old man yelling at cloud? Kids these days with their technology and
I got
us.
I was trying to be like Chris.
Yeah.
Old man over here. Who now accidentally sends me the text that he means to send to his wife.
Well, I have my wife.
That's dangerous.
I have my wife and phone as wifey, which is close to Wes. So if you just see a W, you just go with it.
Hey, look, I've made that mistake before. When you're back and forth texting multiple people, sometimes you don't look at which one you're sending and you send it to the wrong person. It happens as long as you don't send anything too over the line. Be like, Wes, I'm going to need you to hand me your phone so I can delete that message before you ever see it type thing.
Yeah, I don't do that anyway.
Let's get back to
what we're even
Gordon
talking
Sellers.
about. Yeah, okay, that was I couldn't even remember. The last name spelling got us down the David Sanders and Chris's old rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, that kid, and man, Providence Day, by the way, they won the 7-on-7 tournament. Had a good game with Irmo right here in the Midlands, who was the runner-up. Also a couple big-time prospects from them. And obviously Leo Delaney was not participating in that. He was at the lineman camp. But Gordon Sellers was, and man, Wes, that's a kid that he checked a lot of the boxes, too, that you look for in a receiver because he had some length, 6'2", maybe 6'3". Can't even remember what he's listed at. You can tell
6'3".
6'3", yeah, and he looked like it too. I mean, he had the frame, he had the length. He'll get bigger, but a smooth, I think, runner. Had some speed, showed natural hands, and heard a lot of really good reviews from him from several people who watched him play, and then we got to, of course, watch him as well.
I was gonna say, I think I was one of those.
Yeah, you were. I counted you.
No, guys, you look at some of these taller guys, and then you wait to see them run. And frankly, they're not all explosive. Like the taller you get, the harder it is to be explosive off the line of scrimmage. And that was the thing watching him. I was just like, man, this guy can actually run, and he's not. Some guys are more like long stride, like build to speed, and he had a little bit more explosiveness to him than maybe I thought. Like a lot of these guys we've seen out here that are bigger, I think profile more as tight ends. Like you look at Michael Skinner from Riverside, who we watched quite a bit this week. I think he's more of a tight end. Jamel House from Newberry, bigger kid, more of a tight end, I think. And so he, to me, looked like that true kind of outside, that like X receiver potentially that you were looking for. Now he's class of 2026. So we're getting ahead of ourselves in terms of what that would even mean for South Carolina. But 3-star guy right now, I think he's got a 4-star. Probably, I would think there would be a 4-star by his name before it's ultimately said and done. But, Chris, you mentioned Irmo.
Yeah.
Got to talk about them. A.J. Brand, obviously quarterback. He'll be committing somewhere on Sunday. Could be South Carolina. Could be Virginia Tech. And then you got Donovan Murph, wide receiver. And Brand, I would have liked to have gotten to see Brand play some defensive back. He looks the part physically, like a big, well-put-together kid, leader, all those things. But he also plays quarterback, which, led his team to the finals. Again, like you said, lost to Providence Day. But interestingly enough, that's kind of the question that I believe is driving his recruitment right now as well. Virginia Tech appears to be offering the chance to play quarterback. South Carolina appears to be really saying, we see you as more of a DQ Smith, like make the transition quarterback to safety. That's a position where South Carolina has some guys that are starting to get a little bit older. DQ, third year. Nick, who's also from Irmo, third-year guy. And so it is an intriguing kind of recruitment going into Sunday. On the surface, I think you would have said, well, he's been to South Carolina many times, right down the road in Irmo. Nick has had a great career at South Carolina. Slam dunk. But then you put this other kind of layer on top of it, I think, and that's, does he want to play quarterback? There are some indications that he does want to play quarterback.
Yeah, and you remember you mentioned DQ, that's kind of South Carolina's vision, right? Hey, look at this guy. He was a really good high school quarterback right here in the Midlands, comes here, plays safety, has played very well, played very early, as a freshman. And so you're kind of selling, if that's the right word, a similar vision to A.J. Brand. I think you look back at DQ Smith's recruitment, remember, he some guys play high school quarterback and don't really have the opportunity to go play it in college. DQ had that opportunity. Now, from my understanding, he didn't really have it at the Power 5 level as much. Georgia Southern was like
the school. Was it Georgia State?
Yeah.
I think it's Georgia Southern.
It was Southern. They were offering him that chance, and for him, it was a legitimate thing to think about. Hey, I've always played quarterback. Hadn't played DB since 8th grade. Should I go do this? And so ultimately he decided to make that transition, come to South Carolina, and he's done it well. For Brand, it's different.
Yeah, and I was going to say real quick, Chris, think about at this point in DQ's recruitment, like DQ didn't get added to the class to the very last minute.
Yep.
The answer now doesn't necessarily have to be the answer 6 months from now. Like I feel like DQ, we had pretty much stopped tracking him to an extent.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, because it seemed like he wanted to play quarterback.
Yeah.
So with Brand, is there a chance, maybe it shifts again, but
possible, yeah. But I mean, this is a guy that right now apparently has the opportunity to, if he wants to go to Virginia Tech, they're saying, hey, you can come here and play quarterback. And for him, very good high school quarterback. I think he had 62 touchdowns last year. That's something that is intriguing to him and his family, I think. And so that's kind of your decision, and it makes it difficult. And so really it comes down to, hey, I want to play quarterback, or I want to give that a run. If that's the case, then, it might be Virginia Tech.
Like you said, the decision for him coming up on Sunday with his commitment. Another prospect keeping an eye on has a commitment coming soon as well. Talk about that coming up next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
All right, everyone, you've heard me tell you about our friends at Classic Roofing. Allow me to do it one more time. Obviously, when the summer hits, you got those summer storms. Lots of storms have been hitting the area. Sometimes that can lead to roof damage. But let our friends at Classic Roofing check out your roof before you file a claim, because you may not need to, and you actually do not want to file a claim for no reason. Let them come out and give you an honest assessment instead of what some people do, will just tell you, hey, just file a claim. It's easy as that. Call them today, 803-590-7870, or just head on over to classicroofingsc.com. There you can get more information on their services, or you can click that free estimate button, and they're going to come out much like they did for me and my family, and check out your roof and give you an honest assessment on maybe how much life is left in your roof, or are there some small things they could do to your roof to extend that life. Again, classicroofingsc.com or 803-590-7870.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on this Thursday. Remind you, coming up later on today, a lot going on here at the games. You're going to have Jay and Elijah out at Old Mill Brew Pub, 711 East Main Street in Lexington. Going to be broadcasting from 3 until 6. Then tomorrow morning, going to have Bill and Preston out at Liberty on the Lake, 1602 Marina Road in Irmo. All proceeds going to the Big Red Barn Retreat out there in Blythewood. Again, that's from 6 until 9 tomorrow morning at Liberty on the Lake. We just talked about A.J. Brand and his decision coming up here very soon and where he's going to be playing college football. Another big decision being made by Tayshawn Alston, the 3-star out of Henderson. His announcement set to be coming up early on next week on Tuesday.
Yes, and a guy South Carolina's been in on for quite some time. I know, Chris, I think you talked to him after his official visit on the phone, and really a guy, if you look back, you've actually interviewed him a lot. I was looking at his profile. Yeah. He's been on campus quite a bit.
He has.
I feel like all his interviews are about South Carolina, if you look at On 3.
Make of that what you will.
Could that be a sign?
It could be. Yeah, I mean, Austin is someone that he has liked South Carolina for a long time. I feel like one of the first times he ever visited was maybe a couple summer camps ago. It could have been last summer. It seems like it was longer ago than that. And, you see this, kid, this long kid from North Carolina coming in. And it was pretty evident right after that you could see things progressing to him ultimately, even though it was a ways away, right? You could ultimately see him being a part of the class. You felt like you got the vibe very early on that South Carolina was going to have some pretty major, staying power here. It seemed like, if I recall correctly, that South Carolina originally, he's listed as an edge, and he plays edge in high school. And so when you look at him in his frame, we have him on his own 3 profile, West, listed at like 6'4", 203 or so. On his huddle profile, he's in the 220s. I would tend to think that maybe that's more accurate. We'll have to do some double checking on that. But he certainly, the point is, has the size and frame to maybe play edge. But it seems like the Gamecocks and Clayton Light are intrigued by playing him as a little bit more of a true linebacker, albeit one that's going to have some versatility.
Yeah, and we've seen this with some other guys too, where you're kind of trying to make that decision. And, I think that there is some versatility in how they want to use these guys, and we've seen them go a little bit more towards, hey, we're going to be a 4-2-5 defense and a 3-3-5 defense. So how would he fit among the two different schemes there? We'll see. Maybe, you talked to Bam Martin Scott on Tuesday. Maybe there's some similarities there in that he's a guy who's got some length to him and can rush off the edge, and maybe could be, when you're in that 3-3-5, maybe that backer that's
Joker.
blitzing. Yeah, that's coming more than often off the edge. And, I think with him and with all these guys to an extent, you just get him to campus and then maybe he grows into a true edge guy. But as of right now, you look at Jaquel Holman. He's a linebacker on the board. Certainly seems like Tayshawn Alston is a linebacker on the board. We'll maybe see if he ends up at South Carolina and on the commit list. Maybe we'll see if On 3 will be willing to move him over to linebacker, since that's where South Carolina has him at. But, a guy, I want to say, Chris, and, we cover a lot of guys, so don't take this as fact, but I want to, was he not a 4-star guy early on? I feel like he was a little bit higher ranked.
Yeah, I think he was one of those guys that popped out as a kind of an early 4-star, and there's some adjustments from there. And there's a whole season to play, so there's a postseason. If there's any All-Star, Shrine Bowl, for instance, with him being a North Carolina guy, so maybe there's some room to adjust there. But he's someone that I think didn't end up being like a blue chipper type of recruit, in that you don't look up and down his offer list and see, okay, here's Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, Clemson, et cetera, et cetera. But he does have, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Rutgers, Georgia Tech. So he's got some solid offers in there. Took an OV to North Carolina. I think that was this past weekend. He took one to Rutgers. He had one scheduled this weekend to Virginia Tech that he ended up canceling. And the Gamecocks actually got the first official May 31st weekend. but have seemed to just maintain their position on this one throughout.
Kind of goes with my theory. Everybody wants the last
right.
one. I think you want the first or the last.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I tend to agree. I feel like if we went back and tracked some data, it would actually show that the first and last are the most successful. For some reason, I feel like that middle one doesn't hit as much, but I could be wrong on that. But I do like your Bam Scott comparison now that you said it. I went back to and looked at some of the measurables on Bam. We know now, if y'all missed it yesterday or Tuesday, Bam is now 6'3", 240 and runs 22 miles an hour. So that's pretty good. But out of junior college rather, he was kind of more like 6'3", 220. You go back and look at his film there. They played him off the edge a lot. He's a guy that could do some different things. So, I think when you think about linebackers these days, if you think about, 6'4", 225, linebackers with what they're asked to do nowadays in the modern era of college football, you need to be able to do a little bit of everything. You'll see some of those throwback type linebackers, but you need to be able to be a guy who's twitchy, who can run, who can cover, who can rush off the edge. That's what you think about with a guy like Bam. That's what you think about with J.R. Johnson as a freshman, a guy who's played wide receiver in high school, 6'3", 225, runs 4.5, and we've heard all the offseason buzz about him. To me, Austin fits that bill as someone that, like you said, Wes, you could plug into that versatile 3-3-5 linebacker spot.
And let's go ahead along those same lines, Chris. Let's go ahead and just throw out the buy stock and J.R. Johnson conversation. I know you talked about the linebackers a little bit when I was not in here last week. Did y'all get into some J.R. Johnson buzz?
A little bit, but not as much. And, Bam went through and gave some scouting reports, which was cool. But, not as much on J.R.
What did he have to say?
He kind of went through everybody, like almost everybody on the roster, and gave them all some love. He seems to feel pretty good about it. Demetrius Knight seemed very high on JR. Seemed very high on JR. He actually said JR reminds me. He's like, and it was cool because Bam a couple different times was like, trying to be humble but actually give a good answer, And he said JR reminds me of myself a little bit, which heck, you saw how he played last year.
Yeah, he was great down the stretch. But I think there's levels to everything, and this is one of my favorite times of the year in that we start to get a little bit of that buzz about who's standing out. And all these guys came in, almost all the guys came in for spring, so you got a little bit more extended data there to be able to gather. And, they don't always hit. Like, I think this time last year, frankly, there was a lot of Elijah Caldwell buzz.
Yeah.
And, that didn't play out like that, obviously, in terms of him being able to make a freshman impact. But for the most part, this time 2 years ago, I think it was about right now, we started hearing Nicky Memori buzz. And that proved to be, obviously, very accurate. I don't think we started hearing that DQ Smith could play as a freshman until one of the scrimmages. And I remember Shane Beamer threw DQ Smith's name in there.
Yeah.
Like with the other guys, and we were like, wait a second, that's something right there. But I think you can go ahead, other than the obvious that everybody talks about, which is like a Dylan Stewart. I think that's the most. I think if you were to say who's going to make the biggest impact as a true freshman this season, Dylan Stewart is my answer right now.
I think that's easy.
Easy
really.
Answer. But in terms of maybe that's a little bit more under the radar, and that is also behind some guys. There's probably a two deep ahead of those freshmen at linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of just a freshman who the early buzz is like, this guy has a great future at South Carolina, I think J.R. Johnson is your kind of under the radar guy that you have to circle.
And that's great because he could play some this year. He could play special teams for you, and then you look at what you lose after this year. Yeah, you're going to lose probably your two deep when you really look at it with the two senior transfers, and then Debo and Bam are out there, and you lose them. So certainly a good problem to have. But Tayshawn Austin, if they can land him on Tuesday, and I feel like South Carolina's in a good spot. Be another nice addition to this class.
Got an update on the renovation project set to be going on around Williams-Brice Stadium. We'll dive into that coming up. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
$11:28 Eastern here on the game, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. And as you know, our presenting sponsor is Firehouse Subs. And we did that on purpose because Firehouse Subs is awesome. And this show gets you right up to lunchtime. So you finish listening to us and you're like, man, I'm hungry. I need a good, affordable, quick, and delicious lunch. Our friends at Firehouse Subs can provide that for you. There's 14 different locations all around the Midlands. The great thing about Firehouse Subs is you can use their Rapid Rescue to go. To avoid the wait, you can order online. You can do that by going to firehousesubs.com, or you can download the Firehouse Subs app. Sign up for the rewards program when you create an account. You can earn rewards from every purchase to go toward future purchases. Free Firehouse Subs, which is awesome. Check out the new barbecue Cuban, Southern Roots with a Cuban twist. It's there for a limited time only, or any of your Firehouse Subs favorites, like the Hook and Ladder or the Turkey Bacon Ranch. Firehousesubs.com or the Firehouse Subs app.
And welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark along with you on this Thursday. Something that's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle, haven't really talked about it in a while, is the land development project that is set to take place in the area around Williams-Brice Stadium and the Congaree River. This came up last year. The official announcement was made, and we haven't really heard a whole lot about it since then, but the athletic department has recently met with the State Fiscal Accountability Authority and received the approval to start moving in the direction of proposals for this new project. So it's going to be a while till we see anything actually taking place out there, but a step in the right direction for seeing this come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think, guys, it's one of those things where I believe, based on everything we've heard, they had hoped that this could move a little bit quicker than it has to this point. And you know, I think as with anything, there can be red tape. There can be things that have to happen as far as the logistics of how it works. And so basically, if you go back and look, February of 2023, South Carolina put out this formal request for information from potential developers. And what this new release that they put out is a formal request for proposal. And so the state process, I believe, has been part of the holdup for the last, I guess, year and a half now. Some of that has been kind of, some of the roadblocks are out of the way now. There have been approvals there that also will allow this to move forward a little bit quicker from this point forward, I believe. And, Chris, I'm just fascinated to see how much of the little kind of details here and there that we've heard about what this might look like, what this potentially could be, how much of it is feasible, what's the first part of the process. Obviously, some of this land out by the stadium, if you kind of go out towards the river past the indoor facility and the football ops building, is in a floodplain. So that's going to be a factor on some of this. But for South Carolina, ultimately it comes back to this idea of you do have land that should, in theory, be valuable. Can you leverage that land without spending some of your own money to then bring in more money? Initially, Chris, this was tabbed as a potential way really to fund improvements within Williams-Brice Stadium itself. I do think with this shift in NIL and being able to directly pay players, it could, if it can work out the way they want it to, it actually allows you to use some of this money to potentially directly pay players because, as we know, when that $20-odd million checks start going out, you're going to have to find new revenue streams. Mm-hmm. And so this could potentially be that.
Yeah, I think there are a few different elements of this that are pretty neat. One is the potential to have, not a technical term, but just more cool stuff around the stadium, you know? Like, use your imagination with that, you know?
Well, something to add more to the game day experience as opposed to just tailgating.
Retail, restaurants, places to stay, et cetera, et cetera. Then, like you said, Wes, the funding, you know, raising additional funds for a few different elements. One is, you know, in the NIL era, every single school, even the ones that have gobs of money, are looking at this going, okay, we're going to have to take a $20 to $22 million hit. How are we going to do that? And this is one way. Obviously, the you got to get to that cap, and then you have to do above and beyond that. So this can help sustain that. But then also, like you said, some improvements within Williams-Brice Stadium itself, which that's important in 2024 as well to add to that game day experience.
If you want to continue to grow the city of Columbia as well and make it more of a destination place, make it a place that can host events, a big part of that, and this is what I've heard, I assume this is true, is that we as a city need more hotels. You need more beds, basically. And that has been at least a part of the heavily rumored, I'm not reporting this as a fact, but heavily rumored part has been the potential for a hotel out there. If you want the NCAA basketball tournament to come back as a host, that apparently has been one of the roadblocks. Can you add more hotel space to Columbia, which for a local you may roll your eyes, you may be like, what's that for? But it does help you grow as a city. Lots of talk potentially about, is there a chance for a golf course? And, Chris, the more you heard I heard this from several people as South Carolina was trying to hire a golf coach.
Yep.
Having an on-campus or near-campus, having a university-controlled golf course isn't just something that would be cool for fans, but would be something for the actual golf team and recruiting that could be that's big with professors at universities that have their own university
recruiting professors,
golf course as well. So is that a part of something that could come out of this? I tend to think let's think big. Let's think big picture. What does it look like down by the stadium? And go back and look. If you're like a new Gamecock fan, go back and look at the stadium 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Whew.
I mean, it was a warehouse district. It was a stadium. Go back and look at the first time game day, Lou Holtz era against Steve Spurrier's Gators. I mean, it's like a dirt field around Williams-Brice, and then a stadium coming up out of the ground. Well, it's come a long way. It really has. You don't want to look past that. But what does it, in another 20 years, what does it look like down by the stadium? I envision potentially, if you can get this ball rolling, I think ultimately, you want the baseball stadium, and we may be way down the road on this, the baseball stadium and a basketball arena in an entertainment district down near Williams-Brice Stadium. And not that those facilities are that old right now, but I'm talking big picture down the road, because everybody wants to build the Battery.
Sure.
Atlanta, the Battery. Atlanta. You play 162 Major League Baseball games, which means you play 81 home games, plus the potential for playoffs. Football, you play 7 home games. So if Williams-Brice can't be your anchor for the Battery, there has to be more reason. There has to be more reason for people to be down there. Ultimately, if you had a basketball arena, if you had how many home basketball games do you play a year? If you add in men's basketball, women's basketball, then you add in baseball. To me, there's the potential for you to have something there. It's not a mini Battery if it ultimately involves all those things. But is there a possibility of other recreational fields being done? Anything else that the university can do that drags people in that area, the more that happens, the more valuable it is.
And I go back to, you talking about looking ahead, Wes. I think actually, we can look at a lot of things and go, why did South Carolina do that? And there's things, a lot of them. But, and I don't know what year this happened, but, a lot of the land around the stadium, there's pros and cons to having the off-campus stadium. This that we're discussing is certainly a pro, because most schools can't do this because everything's on campus. So you can't build the Battery on campus. But a while back, a group of people decided we need to get that land around the stadium. And I think some people looked at it and said exactly what you said, was on a floodplain. Or we don't need that, or that's 30, 40, 50 years away. But looking ahead, now you have that, and now if this type of thing that we're talking about comes to fruition and works, that will have been a big part of it. So it's very important to be forward-thinking as an institution, because I know for sure there's other land parcels around the stadium that USC would love to have that they didn't get, and now they can't get it. And that's one reason why those other types of businesses, nothing against them, but they sprouted up. They're not really integrated with a football stadium and game day activities and things like that.
Did you see, basically among all the other stuff, it was not literally, but it almost felt like it was in bold at the bottom. We're not relocating Williams-Brice Stadium, and we're not buying the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Do you think that was interesting?
Yeah,
it
was.
They'll just squash those rumors before they get started, I guess, or the ones that were persisting up to this point.
Aside from people saying, I wish we had an on-campus stadium, has anybody speculated that they would move the stadium?
I feel like there was speculation about the fairgrounds being purchased.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But not that we're just going to rebuild Williams-Brice in a different.
Yeah, never
Right.
never heard that.
But I agree with you 100%, man. For you go back 20 years ago, it was off-campus stadium, I think that's good, whether it was by design or just how it happened. That's potentially going to be one of the biggest cons turned pro that South Carolina has ever had with this athletic department, if any of this comes remotely close to coming to fruition.
Firehouse Subs text line. What do you want to see with the new development around the stadium with that coming up? Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
All right, guys, let me tell you about actually one of our newest sponsors here on the show. It is Midlands Home Renovations. Head on over to midlandshome.renovations.com where you can get more information about how they can help you bring your vision for your home to life. They specialize in whole home, kitchen, and bath transformations at your home, and they are one of the top-rated general contractors in the entire Midlands. You can rest assured that your home is being placed in great hands. From modern kitchens to luxurious baths to that sunroom that we've all been thinking about adding to our home, they can help take what you've been dreaming of and bring your vision to life. Again, MidlandsHomeRenovations.com is the website. If you go on there, you can get a free quote. You can set up whatever it is you may need. Also, you can call Andrew today, 803-956-8204. One of the top-rated general contractors in the Columbia area. Check them out right now, Midlands Home Renovations.
And welcome back in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. Tyler Head, Westminster, Chris Clark along with you. A few more minutes. As always, you can download us and listen to us on the 107.5 The Game app. Just go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store, give it a download. Listen to us wherever you go. You can also watch us on the Game TV, sponsored by our friends over at Shepherd's Glass and powered by our friends over at Integrated Media. Ask the question for the Firehouse Subs text line. What would you like to see with the new land development down by Williams-Brice Stadium when it is all said and done? Brett, looking for an auditorium, says Greensboro put one beside their Coliseum, and it brings in events every day and weekend. He did say he's a former USC swimmer, so he might be a little bit biased towards that, but it's an idea.
It's a good idea, Brett. I wonder, Brett, do you think, write us back and to answer this question, is what's wrong with Blatt, man? No love for Blatt Natatorium?
Dude, Blatt's been there a long time.
It has been there a long time. I had a very nostalgic moment a while back because my two girls had a swim meet at the Blatt Natatorium. And so I walked up, was it upstairs or downstairs? Upstairs, I think, to the basketball court.
Is your name on the wall from intramurals back in the day?
It is definitely not. But that was a blast from the past. Wes has some ideas for the land.
All right, let's hear them.
Do I?
Yeah.
What I did?
Well, we're gonna put one of them. You know what?
Whoa! No.
What?
We're gonna put our Gamecock Central headquarters out there.
Yes.
That's my idea for the land.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, I thought you guys were going to be the ad at midfield.
Why not both?
Sure.
Maybe we move 107.5 studios out there.
I mean, wouldn't hate it.
Can you imagine? You're right. You know
That'd be sweet.
It's the best setup. I know Chris knows. That's who told me. But doesn't Texags have like their headquarters literally right in the shadows of the stadium?
Yeah. So Texags, which is Tyler, you know Texags, right?
Yeah,
awesome website. Well, it's not just a web. This is a media company, and they have their
conglomerate.
They have yes, media giant. They have a like 2 or 3 story building across the street from Kyle Field, and they have their own radio show. So they have their studio in there. I've been there. It is pretty awesome. And yeah, you're in there, and you're like, there's Kyle Field. So.
Well, let's get their blueprints and make it happen here.
I mean, we could get the blueprints, but it takes a little bit more than that. You know, we could take it to somebody and they'd be like, sure, we can build that. Can you buy the land and pay us to build the building and all those things?
Yeah, that's just logistics.
Yeah, that's minor stuff.
But seriously, I mean, that's a fantasy land, but it would be pretty sweet. That would be my personal.
Yes. I'll tell you what, if we build that, we will rent the studio to the game.
There you go. Yeah.
How kind of you.
For a nominal fee.
For a nominal, low lease
Nothing
price.
too big. Tyler, do we have anything else? Any other ideas? Brett had the natatorium.
Let's see here. Mac would like a river district type thing like you have in Savannah or San Antonio. So, a lot of shops, restaurants, things like right there on the river, hotels, those kind of things.
I mean, how far back is the water back there in that land? Like, if you do the zoom out, you can see it. It's way back there. There's a lot of land.
That seems to be tied into this as like a potential river district. But that's a good question. Yeah, how are we walking distance back there?
I don't know. We got to have a topographer or something needs to write into the Firehouse Subs text line.
I'm looking on Google Maps here. It's a pretty.
What's the?
It's a pretty.
How many
decent
miles?
Walk. Hold on. Let me do a little pinpoint here.
This is on air measuring from Skycam.
We're looking at maps on air. Yeah, I don't really know. But the interesting thing about that is what's the access? Because you've got like Carolina Walk, you've got Gamecock Park, you've got the football facilities. It's behind all that kind of stuff. So.
Does that road even keep going? Or it's just right now, it's just.
The farthest National Guard Road?
Yeah.
Farthest I've ever been down there is where the football facility is, and then it ends. Or it doesn't end. My path ends. I don't know how far back.
There's a hidden parking lot back there, I think.
Yeah.
To go all the way to the river, it does not look like it's quite a mile, but you're getting close.
There's a lot of land back there, though.
There is.
There's a lot of land. So, yeah, there's a lot to figure out. But, man, just so much potential there, right? Like, so much potential to do some cool things and some revenue-generating things, which is key.
I think it's easy to roll your eyes and be like, oh, that's 10 years down. But for every great project, you got to start somewhere.
That's right. Be here before you know it. That'll do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presents it. Myself and Mike Yuva coming up next right here on the game.
We need an inning. Okay. Our friends over at Integrated Media can help take your home or your business to the next level and make it a smart home or a smart business. If you're wondering what that is, well, let me recommend you go to their website, integratedmediainc.com, and you can learn more information about Integrated Media's smart home services that can bring your home or your business